I'd like to call our meeting to order. Town of Southington Board of Finance. This is just a workshop, not a formal meeting. Today is February 22nd, 2024, and we're discussing the 24-25 budget. And we had one of these meetings last night and featured a bunch of other departments. I said in my opening remarks, I think these meetings are very informative to the public, probably the favorite meetings, unless there's some controversy that pops up. These meetings are the most favorite meetings of the public because they get to see the face of the departments that serve them, through the budget. So sometimes the regular public doesn't know what every department does, or some don't even know certain departments exist. And then when they see the video, they say, "Oh, I didn't know that." It was very, very informative. So it's a great time to showcase and get some credit for what our town departments do, and at the same time have the department leaders walk us through the budget. So last night's video is already up, so I thank the town clerk's office and Sandy for making that happen. It's available to the public, and I'm sure this one will be up and available in short order once we complete the meeting. So tonight, we're not in any particular order. We have the town clerk, we have assessments and tax collection, recreation, youth services, and senior services, which is together, public works, and the fire department. And we look forward to hearing from all of them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First up tonight is going to be assessment and tax. That's page 28 through 31. And Director Teresa Babbins will be speaking on that department.
Hi, how are you? Good. So I am the Director of Assessment and Revenue, like Mark said. So I have two departments to go over. We were given some guidelines as to what sorts of things you all would be interested in, so I did my best to prepare a couple of remarks. But first and foremost...
Can you move a little closer to the mic, please?
Sure. Is this better?
That's better.
Okay. So I'm going to start. I think in the past I ping-pong between the two departments, so this time I thought that I'd maybe go through tax and do everything tax-related first, and then we'll jump to assessment. So in terms of the tax collector's office, the service we provide is that of collecting people's money. But the money that we do collect is approximately 80% of what the city needs to run every year. So I think the job that we do is an important one. We have many other sub-functions in the office, but the most important, obviously, is collecting the money. For a service highlight, I'd like to mention that we switched credit card vendors late last summer. And the new credit card vendor afforded a huge increase in functionality for not only the taxpayers but for us in the office as well. An example of that is what we did come January when the second installment of taxes come due. A lot of people tend to forget. And then the next thing we do, in February is send out a delinquent notice, and the people they come in and they say, "I've been here for 30 years, I've never forgotten," and we understand that is a hardship for them. So this new credit card vendor allows us to pull different reports. And in this particular instance, I asked them to pull a report of all the people that had signed up with a real estate account, and then we generated an email reminder. So they provide us with their email account, and we let them know that we would be contacting them a couple times a year. And the first time we did it was mid to late January, but with enough time for those people to come in and make that payment if they had forgotten. And we basically everybody that came in February that had forgotten, we signed them up. They don't have to pay by credit card when they sign up on the system, but giving us that email address, it's a data point that we did not have the capabilities of collecting in the past. So now we do, and when we need to reach out to the taxpayers, we can quite easily. So I think that's a huge step in the right direction. The budget for the tax office is pretty simple. I would be happy to go over that, and if you have any questions about any of the line items, I'd be happy to answer those as well. Obviously, the salary, do we have to, you got the page there? I don't want to...
Yep.
Okay, all right. So the salaries, the increases as a result of the the union contracts. And then the next thing that increases on my list is for the meal allowance, and that is because one of the staff members that did qualify to receive that when they work on Thursday, that expense increased from $12 to $15. So I had to account for that in the budget. The next line item is collection services, and you'll see that looks like a pretty hefty increase. But what it is, that increase is all attributed to is the delinquent motor vehicle file that we send out every August. We tend to have between 6,000 and 7,000 delinquent motor vehicle bills to send out after the July collection period is over. And believe it or not, we did do that in-house. So we had to print them, fold them, stuff them, post them, and it got to be too daunting. So now I simply, with a click of a button, I am able to send the delinquent file to our printer. They take care of everything else, and the delinquent bills get mailed out in a much more timely fashion. And then the next thing, close to the last thing, but the next thing is the office supply budget. It's a very small increase request, but that is due to the cost of processing the bills as well as the postage increase. I increased just a little bit in anticipation of that going up. And then the last thing is dues and conferences. This is also, it looks like another big ticket request. We currently have 4 staff members that are certified as a collector, a certified Connecticut municipal collector. And that is a designation that requires continuing education. We are required to get 50 hours of continuing education during the course of 5 years. So they do offer classes and refreshers, but the cost of those offerings has increased. So unfortunately, in order for all 4 of us to continue, I needed to increase that line item a little bit. We're also in the process now of getting our newest staff member in the tax office, his certification. He's going to be starting his 2nd class, and that's in anticipation of the 2 more senior office members probably contemplating retirement in the next 12 to 18 months. So I'm trying to bolster the level of knowledge and education that we contain in the office so we can help serve the public better. Any questions on that budget?
Anybody have any?
No, I had a question. It's not really the budget.
If you use a credit card, it's 2.78%. If you use an e-check, it's $1.95 flat fee. So you can opt to provide us with your routing number and your checking account number, and regardless of the amount you're charging, it's $1.95.
You're just passing on the fee that they're charging.
Exactly. It is
For the taxpayers.
the taxpayers that use the service are paying for that service. It's a convenience that we are allowing them.
That's correct.
It's not passed on to the population.
No. I know there's a fee. I was
Yeah.
going up or what it was.
Yep.
What's a tax sale? I see $4,000.
Sure.
Is that when we have a property? What's the process?
Yeah, we're in the process of dealing with that now. We accumulate a list of properties that are either 2 years delinquent or $5,000. I think we decreased it. 2 years or $5,000, and we send the statutory required demand letters to those taxpayers when they fail to contact us. We then send that property in a list to an outside attorney who conducts a tax sale. It's essentially an auction. So the minimum opening bid would be the amount of the taxes and fees that are outstanding. And then there's an auction. If there are multiple people involved or interested in that property, then there could be a bidding war. And we did one 2 years ago. We do one every other year.
So if somebody is delinquent on $5,000 or a couple of years' worth of taxes, we have the right to take their house and sell it?
Yes.
We don't take their house.
We,
There's an auction.
right.
And first, let's backtrack a second.
Yeah, then you have to pay all the creditors.
Yeah. So whoever the person who's the high bidder takes the property. They have to hold it for 6 months. The property has 6 months to best part of this is the fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, T, start with substantial numbers when we package together 40 properties. By the time we have the auction, I'll let you pick it up.
Yeah, by the time we have the auction, by the time it gets to, I have boards that are downstairs if you wanted to take a look in the hallway outside the tax office. By the time we get to that point, now I think we started with 56 properties. We're down to 22 that are actually on the board as being part of the upcoming auction. And then by the time the day of the auction comes, we might have a handful that actually go to sale. And when the property is sold at auction, our lien supersedes any other lien. So if there are other creditors, they lose.
So so we go to auction, the proceeds that come in, to the extent that they equal the taxes owed, we get paid first.
Yes.
So we're the first lien holder. And then in that auction, then there's other ones, right? There's a primary mortgage, a secondary mortgage, the other guys.
Yeah, but
all get a
if
stand in line?
the minimum bid is, if there's an overbid, if there's more bid than what our outstanding tax amount is, then that amount would go to the court and they would distribute amongst any other junior lien holders.
But if the bid is just our taxes, which is where we start,
Right.
we're fine. If that's the bid, all the mortgage holders are out.
Correct.
And the person who buys the house gets it,
Right.
in whatever condition.
They get it
That's why
after
the
6
mortgage
months.
The mortgage holder will show up at the auction.
Yeah.
If they're owed $10,000 to the town, the property's worth $300,000, and there's a mortgage for $150,000.
They'll buy it.
More than likely, the mortgage holder will come in.
It won't even, if there's a mortgage on the property, it won't even get that far. The banks will pay right away.
Yeah. Okay. Just thanks for the background.
Sure.
All right, next department.
Okay, so the next one is assessments. And we do a lot of things in the assessor's office. Most importantly, we discover, list, and value all the taxable property in town. We accept applications for a bunch of different property exemptions, whether you're a senior citizen of a certain age and a certain income, whether you're a veteran, if you're disabled. We have a bunch of programs that are mostly state-driven. People can come in and apply during the application windows, and we provide that information to them. We are actually now in the middle of the elderly relief and the veteran tax relief. That window is February 1st to May 15th. So we are currently in that right now, and we expect the people who are coming to see if they qualify to bring their completed tax return. We don't need them to have gotten their refund yet, just the paperwork that has been filed, and the clerks in the office will be able to calculate whether or not they qualify for those exemptions. So it's in terms of a service highlight, something that I did over the course of this summer as a result of a request to our town council. I had requested some sort of more formal personal property audit program to be conducted in town, and the town council had suggested that I try to do a little outreach to the businesses in town, and I did that and held 3 educational sessions for business owners that were interested in attending. And I held one as early as 7 in the morning on a Thursday. I tried to make them available to as many people that wanted to come. And so we saw, I think, about 20 people at each session. So that's approximately 60 people that did get the information. That information is still posted on our website if there are any other businesses that are interested in what we talked about and the information that I distributed. It's still on the assessor's webpage. And so I will go back to the town council March. First meeting in March, and I am going to re-request a personal property audit program, and I just think it's the best thing for the town. But I will be presenting to the town council on March 11th. So let's go to the budget. Budget for assessments is going to be very similar to that of the tax collector's office. Salary going down to reval services, so there is a little bit of an increase. We do have a reval coming up. We are getting ready to execute the contract with our new reval company, Municipal Valuation Services, out of Fairfield, and we will be starting to work with them within the next couple months. It's a pretty long process. This is supposed to be a full measure and list, meaning the people conducting the revaluation will be trying to gain access to all the properties in town to correctly value them. So that's what that line item is for. I went down a little bit in gas. Unfortunately, the dollar amount isn't that big, but the percentage decrease looks good. Office supplies, again, is the percentage change for office supplies is mostly due to the fact that we deal with motor vehicle pricing guide companies like a J.D. Power, Price Digests, in order to accurately value our motor vehicles. And J.D. Power is really pulling a number over on the Assessors Association in Connecticut. They're the charges that they're getting from us. They're charging per lookup, per search. They're charging I don't know if it's 59 cents per search, and then they're also charging just thousands of dollars for usage fees and for licensing agreements, and it's turning into quite an ordeal. So we're hoping that at some point the legislators will be able to come to some sort of agreement about the motor vehicle tax, and maybe it won't be so difficult for us. I have no idea if that's going to happen or not, but until it does, we are going to continue to be relying upon these pricing outfits, so at a cost, unfortunately. Dues and conferences, again, same premise that the cost of these offerings is increasing. And I have currently 2 in the assessor's office that are certified. There's one that only has 1 class left, so at some point or other, I'd like to see her finish. But that's it's not for this year, probably next year. And that's it. Any questions about assessment?
If I may. I thought the state sent the values of the motor vehicles to you.
The state, the DMV does price, I want to say, the majority of the motor vehicles, because we get the list from DMV, but DMV also deals with J.D. Power. And so depending upon our population, they will charge those. I didn't bring the paper with me, but it's thousands of dollars depending upon your population, and we have to pay that up. Otherwise, our vehicles will not come priced from DMV. So they're kind of holding us hostage. There's a significant number of vehicles that come unpriced, and I do have to deal with those on a manual, one-by-one basis. But considering we have about 48,000 motor vehicle bills, I might have to manually price about 2,000 of those.
Probably mostly antiques and so forth. So.
Not so much antiques, but used vehicles for sure. The antiques are easy because if you've requested to be treated as an antique vehicle owner, that vehicle is only assessed at $500. If you get, they call it now classic vehicle, though they used to say antique on them, but I think now they say classic vehicle. If you have that type of plate, you automatically get assessed at $500. So it's not the antiques, those are the easy ones.
That's only a joke, I'm only kidding. It would take you forever to get your money back. That was the.
Oh,
The jokes that nobody understands, but it's a tough joke.
I have a question on the programs that reduce taxes for various people. Where does the difference come from? Does the town eat it? Is it part of a state? Does the state pay for it? How does it work? If I'm assessed, say, $10,000 for my house tax, and I'm in one of these groups and somebody reduces it, where does the differential come from?
It depends on what group you're talking about.
Okay.
So the elderly, we used to get 50% reimbursed by the state many years ago. That doesn't happen anymore. So that's a
So
town.
50% of the discount we assess. So if I pay $10,000 in tax, you say, oh, John, you're special, you're only going to pay $8,000. The state used to pay one of the two, and we would eat.
The state used, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the elderly.
And now they don't reimburse.
Now they do no longer
So if
reimburse.
somebody qualifies and it works, the town gets less tax on that property.
Yes.
Okay.
The state currently reimburses 50% of tax abatements for businesses that qualify as in the enterprise zone. There's a DECD program that if the companies apply for that and qualify, we will abate 80%, and the state still reimburses us half of that. You with me? And then there's manufacturing machinery and equipment that the town, to use your language, eats every year.
Okay.
There's no reimbursement for that.
If there's an abatement.
If there's an abatement, yeah.
But the people setting the standard for the abatement is not the town,
No,
it's the state.
correct.
So the state says, these are requirements to abate. The town offers that, because they have to, and then if people qualify for it, the town loses those tax dollars,
Correct.
which essentially means other people in town pay for it.
Correct.
Because the town budget doesn't go down because of that.
Right.
Okay, let's keep going. What else? Any more of those?
Well, that's it for assessment. And the other
I just have
department.
one more?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm just going down with these
Yeah.
tax abatements, but.
If you could, I'm going to be very against property tax audits, especially if the company is paid on a percentage of what they collect.
Okay.
I've been on the other side of those, and they're very aggressive, and it's very intrusive to the taxpayer. So I will be speaking against it. So just to be on record.
Okay. I won't
Thank
take it personally. I'll have some rebuttals, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
Wayne, you're a CPA.
Correct.
You do taxes. I have a CPA doing taxes out of my, clearing anything to her, but you. Is that fair to you?
She's not auditing that. She's auditing me, not you. She's
She's
not
going
going
up-
to find you.
She's also going to be, these businesses today are also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, home-based businesses, which is the largest growing part of people who
And
are
I would
working from home
support that.
with corporate assets in their house. Lots of them. My neighbor's one of them. He has declared, by the way, and maybe because he.
What's the address?
I was going to say, I know your address, so.
We're going off.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to,
Yeah.
we'll fight
You
about
seem
it.
excited
We'll
about
fight
this.
about it later.
Eventually, this will go to the council, and the
It is
council will
unfair
fight
to
over it,
those
but-
who are being truthful and honest with their declarations to the to the tax assessor, to the assessor, and to the responsibilities as corporate. Respectfully and humbly disagree.
There's several
With the gentleman
council.
from Plantsville.
There are several council people who have the same concerns, so it may have to be tailored in a way, and Teresa and I will sit down and make sure it's
Yeah.
tailored in that way. But there is also sentiment on the council similar to yours, so it isn't going to be a.
We'll fight
wait,
that out
wait,
somewhere
fine,
else.
fine.
Let's
Yeah,
move.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but
That'll come along.
Well, everyone wants Grand List growth. Everyone wants Grand List growth.
Anyway,
Just saying.
Anyway,
the next department, no.
yeah, and other than tax and assessment, the only other budget I am responsible for is the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I have no changes in that one.
do we have a lot of assessment appeals?
Page 32.
We have, I think, 12 this year. That's not bad. 12?
Well,
Yeah.
reval will be a little bit bigger when we go through
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank your department for all the work that they do, and
I will.
even though they have the evening hours, so thank them for all that service that they
Okay.
provide.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for getting the list out on time.
Sure, my pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, the next group is going to be three departments, Recreation Department, Youth Service, and Senior Services. This is all under one director, and David is already stepping up to the mic. I'll give you the pages in a second, page 79, and then pages 84 through 87. And we did something a little different this year when it comes to the budgeting, so Dave will explain that to you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Yeah, like Mark said, so I'll be going through two separate budgets, but for three different departments. So this year, Youth Services is by itself. For the first time, we will be combining the Recreation Department and the Calendar House Senior Center into one budget. So I'll start with Youth Services. First, it's a pretty basic budget. Not much change from last year. Just a quick overview of what the Youth Services Department is. There are 4 full-time employees there besides myself. There's a Youth Service Coordinator who is the day-to-day overseer of the department, hands-on there. Youth counselors who are in the schools pretty much primarily assisting students daily. They are both taking on an average of about 30 to 35 students per school year, which is quite high. And then we have a youth prevention coordinator, Megan Albanese, who is in charge of steps and so forth with that. So like I said, this budget is primarily pretty basic as opposed to last year. The regular wages went up a bit. We did have an increase with the youth prevention coordinator. We went to upgrade that a notch, which we were able to do that. So that increased a bit. You will see in there too, just in case you didn't notice it, in program services, to date, we have not spent money from there. There's $3,000 that we're budgeted for. We also have a youth enhancement grant that we apply for yearly, that our youth service coordinator does. We work off of that grant first, deplete that, and then we will start going into this line item to finish out the year for the programs that we're offering through the Youth Services Department. So that amount right there, even though we're showing nothing being used right now, will go down substantially, most of it, if not all, okay? And then further down the line, office supplies, I increased a bit. Program supplies, I increased a bit, but nothing too drastic. Some of the other things just to point out with youth services, they're primarily, like I said, dealing with students in the schools. A lot of their time is up in the schools. There are meetings weekly, every 2 weeks, at the youth service department for truancy cases. Those are students that are not showing up to school on a regular basis. These are kids that aren't going for possibly a week to 2 months. So they're trying to work with those kids and their parents to get them back into to showing up at school, as well as JRB cases, Juvenile Review Board. Students that get in trouble are referred to our Youth Services Department and the JRB Board, and they will have them in and hold those cases and work with those students and parents as well. So that's pretty much their primary role. John Ismail is our Youth Service Coordinator. That was a new position sort of put in about a year and a half ago. John has been doing a fantastic job. I have instructed him and given him free rein to pretty much increase our program offering through youth services. In the last year, he has incorporated an engineering program, a woodworking program. He's right now working on a music program through some of the teachers at the school. One cool thing I think he's trying to get off the ground, which we should this year, is like a career event type thing. We can hold this up at the Calendar House a few times before the school year ends out, work with local businesses, with different fields that these people work in, have them up, have students come in where they can talk to these individuals to get an idea of what they do on a daily basis in those careers. Could be accounting, could be construction, could be electrician. So those are the type of things we're trying to improve there with the youth services. Any
Dave,
questions?
do these hook up? You said the youth counselors, number 2 and number 1 here. They work out of the schools. Do we have anything
No,
for the kids that maybe don't use our school system, either homeschooled, Catholic school, private school?
Yeah, we do get calls from people outside that are in town but don't go to Southington schools. They will call the Youth Services Department. We will work with them. Yep. Any other questions for Youth Services? All right. So moving on to the next one. So the Calendar House budget that was last year has totally been depleted. All those line items have been zeroed out. So that no longer exists. Everything now is put into the Recreation Department budget, which will be renamed come July, Recreation/Senior Center Calendar House. So this is kind of a tricky budget to look at when you're looking at percentages this year because of the combination of both departments going into it. On the Calendar House side of things, there are, as far as employees go, there are 2 full-time bus drivers. There is a program coordinator, an administrative assistant 2, and administrative assistant 1/bus driver. We also have a part-time bus driver. as well as one more I'm trying to work on too, to get on staff, because our dial-a-ride program has been extremely busy over the last year. We have 4 buses that are on the road, that we have in our fleet, I should say. During a normal work week, we'll have at least 2 on the road daily, if not 3, depending on the amount of rides coming in. We are, as far as dial-a-ride goes, we do service Southington residents. We go out of town. We service Plainville, New Britain, Meriden, Farmington, Cheshire.
You mean bringing our Southington people there for?
Could be for
appointments.
medical appointments, could be for shopping, could be for employment. Now, also note that the dial-a-ride program will service those individuals, not just seniors, 55 and older, but individuals who are disabled 18 years and older. If they need to get to employment, stuff like that. So we do service those folks' needs as well. So like I said, this is a tricky temp seasonal line item you're going to see has gone up drastically. This incorporates all of our recreation temp seasonal needs. Could be lifeguards, our music on the green, our youth theater, our ID checkers. One thing I did last year, and I want to make note of, I did knock down in the recreation department temp seasonal. I knocked that down by about $25,000 to $30,000 because of one pool that was going to be closed for that was Rec Park under construction. I had to incorporate that back into this year, which bumped up our temp seasonal stuff there. We also have, and I'm just going off beat a little bit, but it incorporates some of the temp seasonal. We do apply for a matching grant each year to the state, which we have been very fortunate enough to get. So within that matching grant, I believe the amount, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, is around $54,000, $55,000 that we get from the state. So what we're required to do is, in our budget, show that we are matching that amount. So we incorporate those figures into 4 line items that deal with the dial-a-ride program: temp seasonal, overtime account, vehicle maintenance, and gasoline. So that grant does help out a lot. We utilize that first and then go into these line items to meet the needs if we're in need for that. Program services is one account that is a little bit higher. That too is incorporating, as I said, rec and Calendar House, and we are incorporating new programs at the Calendar House now, bringing in new instructors that we are paying them out of program services. So there's where that increase is coming from. Everything else, like I said, it's tough to look at this year with the increases because of the combination. But if you guys have anything that stood out on your end you want to ask me, please do so.
The only thing, Dave, so I know it's combined, but if you combine last year's 2 departments, what would be the change over the 2 years?
Dollar amount?
About
Or
$60,000.
percentage?
Yeah, last year combined.
I did the math.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So last year combined, I believe, was about 872,000. This year, 926.
Okay.
So about a
And the
53.
piece was putting the lifeguard back.
That was a big chunk of it,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. And we did, just going back to the pools too, we did increase some hours too. Over the years, we're spending a lot of money on Rec Park. We're only open for a certain amount of time, and we're trying to get the best usage of our pools. So we have extended hours on the weekends, a little bit, opening a little earlier, and trying to stay open a little later, as well as opening a bit earlier in the season and trying to close a bit later, just to get, the most usage we can out of the pools.
If I may, on the dial-a-ride program.
Yeah.
Very popular, very good program. I think it serves a lot of people. The vans we use, are they the most efficient? What do we have? Approximately how many people ride in a van at one time?
At one time?
Yeah.
Could vary. We do pickups during the day. We could pick up 4 people at a clip, depending on where they're going, doing a drop-off. Then they'll continue out on the route. Our buses seat about somewhere in the 15 to 16, up to the larger buses are around 21 people. But we don't fill those up at one time because we're picking up and dropping off.
Right. I just was wondering if those vehicles are the most efficient being that large that we're not really using.
Oh, they are. And the newer ones we're getting are smaller than the older types. So the newer ones are, I believe, a 15, 16 seater. And we do apply for those grants as well to replace our buses yearly. Fortunately, we've been successful with that. Each year we're applying and we're getting a new bus.
20 grand, so if the bus costs 140.
Yeah,
somewhere around
yeah.
there, so-
But we still have to operate them.
Absolutely, and as he mentioned before, we also get a grant, Dave could explain the grant he kind of did already, but we get a grant for the operation of those buses.
Right, the 5310 grant.
Yeah,
Right.
$57,000. Yeah, does it cost the town money? Absolutely, but there's also some serious grants that we get.
Oh, and I don't mind spending money on the
Yeah.
program, I just want to spend the right amount on the
Yep.
program.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
we hear a lot that the town doesn't have traditional busing services, but we do a lot of our own individualized busing.
we do.
And that's door to door, right? Like a transit bus would be at a particular stop. You're going house to house, doctor's office to
Correct.
doctor's office.
Correct.
Point to point.
Yep. And we also have our policy, but, we understand, the needs of folks too. So we're working outside of the box as well. We have certain days we'll go to, say, New Britain, Meriden, and Cheshire. We're not sticking by that totally. We're trying to work with the public as much as we could. If somebody needs to get to a medical treatment for cancer treatment, we're taking them. So, yeah, we're picking up at the house, we're dropping them off.
We also have to coordinate with the new bus. That's coming in, we hear about it coming in soon, but that's the Queen Street bus line. When that comes in, that's scheduled to make sure. That's the phone that our classic and above this.
Right.
Thank
Anything else?
Thanks, David.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
The next one is going to be the town clerk's office. That's page 26 and 27. Kathy Larkin is our town clerk.
Good evening, everyone. Just a brief overview of what our services are of the town clerk's office. One of our main things is land records, which includes map filings as well, and that is our main source of revenue. We also handle all the vital records. We issue marriage licenses. We're involved with the elections and absentee ballot issuing. The keeping of the records for the town, our meeting records. We issue dog licenses, sport licenses. We file trade names, liquor permits, and military records. And the town clerk's office is the records retention liaison for the town. So we assist other departments in managing their records, providing them the forms, and the storage of their records. So that's just a brief overview. And as far as the budget, my budget, except for the salaries, that was the only increase in the budget. All the other line items remain the same. Our temp seasonal, we do have people come in and help at our busier times, help us catch up on a project that is continuing. Our overtime, I have that in there, but it's used only as necessary if the staff has to remain for any extended time. There are 3 that receive longevity, myself and 2 staff members. And of course, the meal allowance for the Thursday night. The next item, microfilming and binding, that's the next largest portion of the budget. That is for the microfilming of our records, our archival paper. We have to keep everything on archival paper, archival books. So that is an expensive line item that includes the microfilming and storage of all of these records. Maintenance of the vault and records rooms, that is for cleaning of those rooms. So there's a yearly ceiling to floor cleaning. This past year, we also had to have the vault combination lock replaced, and that came out of that. And our office supplies, that's pretty self-explanatory. The biggest thing that comes out of that is our postage. Our postage is included in that, and that's for returning documents, mailing dog licenses, mailing absentee ballots, that sort of thing. And the last line is dues and conferences, and that's pretty much what it says for dues for associations attending conferences, and it's also for educational classes that the staff, on a rotating basis, they go to certification classes, and that's twice a year, so the staff rotates and takes those classes. So if you have any questions?
I do, if you don't, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
please.
Thank you. I think you do a great job over there.
Thank you.
How much money is collected on a yearly basis by your office?
$1 million plus,
Okay.
generally. And again, that is the land record revenue, recording fees, conveyance taxes, and it always bumps up when there's a commercial sale, because, million plus sales in commercial properties, so that the conveyance taxes, that brings in a lot more.
Thank you.
So, and it fluctuates, with the housing market. So that kind of is always in flux. That number, we can never really project what the market is going to be and what our revenue will be there. But it's all combined total, the revenues for the year are over $1 million.
And most of that sounds like it's the land piece of that.
Correct. Correct.
We're budgeting $1,300,000.
For land record revenue.
For town clerk revenue.
Or town clerk?
The overall.
Okay.
The overall.
Okay.
And the cost is 411. So the expense is 411, and you're bringing in almost $1.4 million.
Put her on the stock market, we'd be doing okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Short and sweet.
Thank the team and all the coverage here, Sandy, and everybody who comes here and helps us and gets the videos up, and all of that's appreciated, getting the notices out. You really cover us, too.
Next department is the Public Works Division, pages 65 through 72. We have Annette and Carly here for that.
Good evening. I have several Public Works budgets to present to you tonight, but I'll start with a brief overview of the services the departments provide. We'll start with engineering and sewer admin. We do in-house design of town projects. We review plans submitted to the Planning and Zoning Department for approval. We review and approve excavation permits. We oversee consultant-designed town projects. We provide in-house surveying, inspect construction projects, oversee the MS4 permit. We review and process sewer permits, process sewer billing and payments, provide sewer account information for closings, provide engineering assistance to many of the other departments, and we address countless resident inquiries. For highway parks, we'll start with the obvious. We do the winter maintenance, such as salting and plowing, street sweeping, road construction, drainage system installation and repairs, leaf collection, road maintenance such as pothole filling, roadside mowing, curb repairs, and trash pickup. We do park, trail, and grounds maintenance, pool opening, closing, and maintenance, plantings throughout town, Christmas decorations downtown. Highway Parks runs the transfer station, including issuing all the permits, and we do in-house mechanical services. We have 4 mechanics. Kari will be up here later. He'll discuss information about the treatment plant. Now, for these presentations, we're always asked to highlight one special service and also what we've done to promote efficiency in our departments. And this year, these are actually the same for me. I'd like to highlight leaf collection. Really always amazed at how the crew pulls together and how hard they work during this season. We do always guarantee that Zone 1 will get a second pass. We do always try our best to get back to Zone 2 as well. But due to the crew's exceptional efforts and the cooperation of the weather, that's a big part too, we were able to go through all 4 zones multiple times this year. While we can't guarantee this every year, I'm just really proud of how leaf collection went this year. Every year, really, but this year particularly, it was a good accomplishment. For the efficiency part of this, from fiscal year 21, what is proposed for fiscal year 25, we've reduced the contractor expenses for leaf season by $168,200. This is a 58% reduction. And this is due to the tow-behind leaf machines we started purchasing in fiscal year 21. As we've purchased more, we've been able to eliminate contracted units and do more of the work in-house. With the purchase of the leaf machine proposed in this budget, we'll be at the point of being completely self-sufficient. I plan on keeping the training wheels on and putting the bid out anyway, just in case something catastrophic happens and the weather turns or some of our equipment goes down. But the plan is to handle the 2024 leaf season without the contracted units. Over the years, we've gotten fewer and fewer bids, so we certainly had to do something. And this solution ended up saving the town a lot of money and allowing us to have more control over leaf collection, which now runs more efficiently and effectively. I'm not going to go through all of my accounts because there are quite a lot of them, but I do want to discuss just the ones with significant changes. We'll start with the engineering department budget. It's proposed to be $773,279, which is an increase of $26,310 over last year. It's a 3.5% increase. However, they're all contractual obligations for regular wages, meal allowance, and boot allowance. Moving on to some of the highway park.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
What is
sure.
a boot allowance, if you would?
A boot allowance?
Yeah.
The employees who work out in the field are allowed a certain allotment of money to purchase new boots every year. It's exactly what it sounds.
Contractual.
No surprise.
Yes, it's in the contract. Moving on to the Highway Parks Department. This budget is proposed at $4,040,524. This is $74,346 more than last year, which is a 1.9% increase. Part of the increase is $63,425 for regular wages, which is contractual. Temporary seasonal wages is going up by $2,279, and that's due to the minimum wage increase. Overtime pay is proposed to go up by $4,148, and that's due to the pay raise. Longevity is actually a decrease. We're going down by $1,400, and that's due to some retirements we've had. The next one's kind of a big one. That's contracted services. I have a decrease there of $57,530. And as I mentioned previously, this is due to the fewer contracted units being needed for leaf collection due to the purchase of the tow-behind leaf machines. I would like to take the savings from this account, or at least most of it, and apply it to the following 3 accounts. One of them being grounds maintenance. I'd like to increase that by $12,070, which is a 9.8% increase, but this is based on past years and also this year's projection. And then I have equipment maintenance and vehicle maintenance, and I would like to increase both of those by $20,000 each, and that's due to, the cost of the parts has gone up, and we also have some larger repairs that have been held off for a while, so we would like to get those accomplished. And the last highway parks account I want to mention is the radio lease system. That one's going down by almost $3,000, and that's due to the elimination of the one-time hardware fee associated with the GPS equipment that we got last year. I do have a few other budgets. The following 3 budgets are remaining the same from last year. One is the snow and ice budget at $810,000. Bulky waste budget, $301,814. And also the tree maintenance budget is remaining the same at $38,000. The streetlight budget is proposed at $458,624. This has gone up by almost $5,000. Equipment maintenance and utilities are remaining the same as last year, but the performance contracting lease payment is going up by almost $5,000. So that's what that increase is due to. For the sewer administration, that's a smaller budget. It's $166,596, but it is $3,432 more than last year. That's due mostly to regular wages, and there was an almost $500 increase for audit services, which is just reflective of what we paid this year. Just to highlight a few of the capital counts related to Public Works, we have $50,000 proposed for the townwide roof replacement. This is less than usual, and that's because we just have a couple minor repairs planned for this upcoming year. We have $100,000 proposed for the townwide HVAC replacement and generators. $100,000 also for townwide paving projects, and that's earmarked to mill and pave the police department parking lot next year. We have $250,000 proposed for repair, replace sidewalks. That's half the amount we usually propose, but we have an excess of funds in that account because the Congregational Church downtown opted to do concrete instead of pavers, so our reimbursement to them was much less than what we were anticipating. Then we have, various equipment and vehicles for highway parks. I won't go through all of them unless anyone has any questions. The Highway Parks Department needs a new salt storage building. That building is more than 35 years old. It's in pretty rough shape. So I'm requesting $487,500 towards the replacement, and I will request the same amount next year so we can get the building done. The Parks Master Plan, I'm proposing to use $330,000 of the ARPA funds, and that's going to go towards Western Little League. We have drainage improvements and paving of the existing gravel lot planned. And then we have various road improvement capital accounts. We have wide and resurface drainage, which we propose $400,000 for. We have LOSIP at $280,000. We have Town Aid Road for $500,000, and these contribute to the annual road projects in addition to the referendum money, which hopefully will be $15 million to use over 4 years, provided the referendum passes. And I just want to thank the board for your consideration. I hope that what I've put together demonstrates that the departments I oversee try to do as much as we can for the residents, but still try to be fiscally responsible. As I said, Kari's here to talk about the treatment plant, but if you have any questions for anything I presented, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
No, definitely came in fiscally. These are probably the best budgets in the whole book. So,
Thank
for
you.
that.
We try.
No, you did a good job.
The salt building,
Yes.
you're spreading it over 2 years?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it being built over 2 years, or just the money?
No, we had it in last year's budget, made it through this board, but didn't make it through the council. That was our first half, so now we moved our first half to this year. So next, it would be fiscal year 26 would be
What's the total cost?
about $900,000.
Little.
And that's just a three-sided, big, tall building that you can drive into?
Yes.
900,000?
It's a fairly large building. Yes.
Have you been there?
No.
You can come take
I mean,
a
I've
look.
been there, but I never went in the salt building.
I would love
That's
to give
part
you a
of the tour.
tour.
How'd you-
Come on down.
I didn't get a tour. Maybe I need a tour.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's seen better days. Yeah.
And the wash bay, we talked about a wash
Oh.
bay
Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah, we've been trying to use a third party for that because we had a agreement with a truck wash that was coming into town, bowling alley.
Yep.
And at the last minute, right now we're doing manually.
Yeah.
I'll come for a tour.
Let me know.
Stuff in the kitchen.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Kari?
And
Thank you.
Kari's here for the water pollution control budget.
Separate,
It's its own tab, right?
it's its own tab.
Yep.
All right. Good evening. Kari Williams, Superintendent of the Water Pollution Control Facility. Before I get started, just want to say thanks for having me. Thanks for allowing me to present. And thank you for reviewing the proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. A little bit about the Water Pollution Control Facility, what we do for the town, how we serve the town. We pretty much just take water from any building, whether it's a residential building or a restaurant or a business, and we take the water and pretty much remove any hazardous material prior to the water being discharged back to the environment. A service that I would like to highlight, calendar year 2023, The water pollution control facility treated over 2.037 billion gallons of water. So we did treat quite a bit of water last calendar year.
Billion?
Yes, billion.
How much
some-
the water department sold? I mean, less the wells, yeah.
Some of it's, I have to say, some of it is water department, but also probably a lot of rainwater that
Yeah,
got into
some
the system as
seepage.
well. Something that we've done at the plant to drive efficiency, I have to say, what I would like to say is that this coming up April will be our 4th year operating the new phosphorus removal building. The first year that we operated this building, we were kind of just getting our feet wet, learning the new system and learning the new equipment. We did have a few process hiccups that first year. The second year, we were a little more experienced, and we were able to correct a lot of the process issues that we had the first year. This past phosphorus removal season was our 3rd year operating the building, and we really optimized the performance of the phosphorus removal building. We ran the building so well that we spent $75,000 less on chemicals than we spent the previous year. And when you think about how chemical prices continue to increase every year, I mean, this is pretty impressive that we were able to save that amount of money. I'm going to give a brief overview of the proposed budget. Like Annette, I'm not going to go through every account because we do have a lot of accounts at the plant. If there's any specific questions, by all means, feel free to ask them. But a brief overview, fiscal year 2025 proposed budget, the total amount is $6,228,918. Fiscal year 2024, this current year's operating budget was $5,986,398. The current budget proposal is an increase of $242,520, or 4.1%. All of our largest accounts in the proposed budget or in our budget, such as plant maintenance, sewer major maintenance, chemicals, and hazardous waste removal, have all stayed the exact same. We did not increase or request to increase any of those accounts in this budget. There were a few minor increases and one major increase that I plan to go over. The first one being regular wages. This is a 3.3% increase, but this is just negotiated via the union contract. The next account is program supplies. This is a minor increase. This account, the program supplies account, is used towards service provider fees and contracted lab services. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $70,000 in this account. The proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 is $80,000. This is a 14.3% increase, and the increase is caused by testing requirements from DEP for PFAS. This is a new parameter that we're going to have to test for. We have not received our new permit, but we anticipate the new permit having requirements for testing for PFAS. We believe they're going to have us test the water that enters the plant, test the water that exits the plant, and also the sludge that exits the plant. So we budgeted $10,000 for that additional testing. The next account is vehicle maintenance. This is another minor increase. The current fiscal year, we budgeted $16,000. Proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $17,500. This is a 9.4% increase, and this increase is caused by fees associated with the new GPS units that we have on the vehicles down at the plant. Next account is our other professional services account. This is a major increase. This account, other professional services, is used towards engineering design fees for miscellaneous systems. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $34,000 for the design of the magnetite feed system. The proposed budget for 2025 or fiscal year 2025 is $45,600. This is for the design of the upgrade for the West Street pump station. there's been a lot of discussion since I've been working in Southington about possibly developing the north, I guess, section of West Street pretty significantly. So town staff are just trying to get ahead of the ball and have something designed and in the works. So if that development does come into existence, we're ready to go to upgrade the pump station if we need to accommodate the additional flows. Next account is environmental assessment / remediation. This by far is the largest increase that we are requesting. This account is used towards the design and engineering assistance regarding the PCB cleanup project. The current fiscal year, we budgeted $150,000 for this account. The proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $400,000. Town staff, well, this is a project that, like I mentioned, has been going on for a few years now. Town staff reached out to the engineering firm that's in charge of the design for this project, which is Ty and Bond, and their budget recommendation to get this project up and running was $400,000. I have an email here from Ty and Bond. Their $400,000 includes designs, a remedial design, meeting negotiations with DEP and EPA. It also includes bid documents and specifications, observations and expenses, laboratory fees, remediation, permitting, preparation and implementation, so get all the permits going, and also environmental use restriction filing and survey. They mentioned that from a scheduling perspective, the estimated costs assume that the project predominantly will be completed in 2024. So we're expecting this project to be up and running by the end of this calendar year, and hopefully just about complete. So that's that account. Last account I want to discuss is just utilities. This is a major decrease. This account is used for the plant's utility costs. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $800,000 for this account. The proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $750,000, and this is a 6.3% decrease. I reviewed the total amount that we spent on utilities over the past 4 years since the plant has come online, and over the past 4 years, we've landed within say $690,000 to $710,000. So I felt comfortable bringing that request down a little bit. I didn't want to go too far down just because of all the storms we've been having lately. All of this additional rain is causing us to have to keep additional equipment and tanks online, which will in turn cause the utility electric bills to increase somewhat. So I didn't want to go too far down with it, but I did feel comfortable bringing that request down somewhat. That's all I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration in this budget proposal. And by all means, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I have a question. You mentioned,
Yes.
so is that something the state has guidelines? Has it been around for a few years, or how does it work right now?
They've been studying it for a few years now and trying to come up with technologies that will destroy the PFAS and remove it from the water. They don't have an exact plan yet. They don't have any limits or anything set for us or anything like that. I think what they're trying to do right now is just get in the permits to see what's the concentration coming into the plant versus the concentration leaving the plant, and then based off of those numbers, they'll probably do this for maybe like 3, 4, 5 years, and then based off of the numbers they receive from the tests that we perform, they'll set up some type of PFAS limits in the future.
And you feel that
We currently do not have any technology to remove PFAS from the water. That's something that we will have to look into in the future, depending on what they find with their studies. We'll make a decision there. But I do believe that DEP and EPA are looking more towards at the water department side first. So they figured if you get rid of it from the water side, then it won't make its way to the wastewater side.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. Insurance companies and talking into like is like the next
Yes.
asbestos. That's huge.
Yes.
And it's major lawsuits, so it's going to be a lot of money. So it could be going to have to be in compliance and next. Come up with something.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
It's a lot of that. That's going.
Exactly.
So that's a big thing.
Hope that eventually when they can set the limits, they.
Yeah.
Remember they put. Also, they gave us funding too, so I'm hoping that, that's certainly. But Perry hit the nail on the head. We deal with the fire department. Head with water, that part, as opposed to a water pollution. So that's correct. If you get to the water department first, both can get hit from both ends. It's just a matter of time. Always, as most of you remember, with water pollution control, it's something every 5 or 6 or 10 years.
Yeah, something
There's
comes
always
up.
something that comes
Nobody
up.
ever says, we got it.
Yeah,
Good shit.
they add a new thing, and then I'm not gonna curse it, but heavy metals will be coming down the road next. So
We operate, what percent of electricity comes from solar?
We don't have any solar. We
So
have.
we're all purchased.
no
We do have fuel cells.
hydrogen fuel cell.
Ah, I knew there was, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Is it working out?
Yes, as far as I know, yes. Before the fuel cells were installed, I do remember when I first started here, we would have to transfer funds towards the end of the fiscal year into the utilities account to cover the cost. And ever since the fuel cells were installed, we haven't had to request any transfers. So I have to imagine, yeah, they are working.
And that gets everything else. We get reports on solar or fuel cells.
Well, thank you for the service
thank
you
you.
do. It's probably underappreciated by every person in town.
It's one of the most vital services that we give over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very unappreciated.
Yeah,
So
no
thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
Our next and last tonight is the fire department, pages 54 to 56. We have Chief and Chief Lee.
Good evening. Probably going to sound like a broken record. Service highlights real quick. Obviously, the foundations in our mission statement to protect the life and property through prevention, code enforcement, fire suppression, rescue, and emergency medical services. Real quick, just as a refresher for department composition, we have 37 career staff covering administration, operations, fire marshal's office, and 2 civilian staff. Career staffing, we have fire headquarters and Station 5, staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Station 3, we have staff down there Monday through Friday during the daytime. We do have 3 volunteer companies still. Company 1 at 310 North Main Street with a total of 16 volunteers. Company 2 at 128 West Main Street with a total of 16 volunteers. And Company 3 at 35 Clark Street with a total of 2 volunteers. In 2023, we answered 2,484 calls for service or incidents. We conducted 431 inspections and 413 building plan reviews. As we're all been anticipating, slated for March of this year, we anticipate the delivery of our new ladder truck, which was purchased through ARPA funds. One thing that if you have your booklets that I did not include, if you remember in 2022-23 fiscal year, we changed our fire marshal fee revenue to more align with the building department revenue. Along with that, we do receive revenue from the state for every highway incident response we would go to at a $500 per incident response. In fiscal year 2022-23, we collected approximately $187,000 in revenue, and currently, year to date for 23-24, we're at $136,000 in revenue. So we've changed from just an expense department to actually bringing in some money. Specific service highlight. Again, like I said, I sound like a broken record. Our training is the biggest component of our department. In 2023 calendar year, our members participated in over 17,000 hours, 17,500 hours of training. We've been successful in acquiring training classes through grant funds. We're able to offer these programs to outside agencies as well, assisting our mutual aid partners. We do in-house training, outside contracted training. We utilize the Bristol Fire Department's training building just over the line. And they've been very, as well as residential and commercial vacant properties. We've been able to acquire some of those structures, utilize those for training in a real-world environment. We were fortunate enough to partner with the Rotary Club this past year with the Main Street Foundation for the purchase of 2 Lucas devices. Lucas devices are mechanical CPR compression devices, which reduce the strain on the rescuer, as well as provide and deliver both better CPR overall for our residents or visitors passing through who unfortunately have a cardiac event. Just for that note, it is an EMT level skill, and we have a total of 49 emergency medical technicians, 36 career, and 13 volunteer. In addition, we've been continue to be successful in our assistance to firefighter grants applications. In 2022 and 2023 federal fiscal year, we awarded training grants, each at approximately $130,000. We have a grant pending as well now, as you're aware, from a previous meetings of about $45,000 to $48,000. Operational budget overview. This is a maintenance budget. Second year in a row, we are relatively flat. I think we're coming at 0.7%. I will say a majority of that is due to no salary increases due to the pending arbitration and contract negotiations. So we'll take that into consideration. We were able to work with several of our contracted vendors to hold prices for the current year for testing and maintenance programs, but we did see some increases in certain line items, and I'll get to those in a second. Capital budget overview, again, what you'll see presented maintains our existing vehicle replacement program for heavy and small apparatus. A note of concern is the heavy apparatus. That has been increasing steadily since COVID. It was normal for us to see a 3 to 5% increase annually. We've been seeing that increase quarterly. So a fire truck that we purchased in 2021 at $790, about $790,000, an equivalent truck as presented in the capital budget that we spread over 2 years is pushing 1.3. That is across all vendors. That's across all platforms.
That's an engine, not a ladder.
That's an engine. A ladder we just purchased is 1.7. Ladders are pushing 2.2, 2.3 at this point. We're starting to see that stabilize now. A lot of that was supply chain issues for axles, brake systems, primarily motors. They've changed motor platforms because of EPA regulations for exhaust emissions as well. Compounding that is delivery timeframes are in excess of 30 to 48 months, depending on your manufacturer. So a fire truck we order in July 1, we won't see of 2024, we probably won't see until July of 2027. That compounds or pushes back our replacement program. We're seeing a truck arrive in 2 years, we'd be able to keep up on the age of the apparatus. Age of the apparatus, NFPA standards are likely to change. Engines are supposed to be out of frontline service at 15 years, and ladder trucks out of service in 17 now? 17, with reserve status pushed to 25 years. So whether, as we see, that's a large, significant capital outlay. A majority of that is out of our control. Quick over the operating budget. Regular wages you'll see is a 0.6% increase. That's a result of a contractual increase for the administrative assistant only. I have it noted as 9.5% of the salary is for the 3 firefighters hired under the SAFER grant. That's actually about 8%. That's a typo on my my part. 100% of that will be reimbursed for the remaining term of the grant, which expires on January 22nd of 2025. So approximately 17 pay periods will get reimbursed from the federal government for salary and benefits on those 3 personnel. Overtime account increases at 3.4%. This is primarily due to contractual step increases and budgeting for additional required training and funding for professional development. We have a significant number of young firefighters. I believe we're at 17 out of our 37 career members have less than 5 years of service with the department. So there's some mandatory training required for them, as well as some professional development training for them as well to eventually, move into our spots should they so desire and move up the ranks. Longevity, you'll notice that's a 12.35% increase. That's just in a change from eligibility for multiple members and contractual. Stipend, the stipend account funds the volunteer stipend funds overtime for volunteer training, as well as some career stipends, fire marshal stipends, EMT stipends as well. You'll see a 6% decrease in that account. That's primarily due to the volunteer reimbursement area, due to the number of volunteers and participation activity in that area. Legal fee increase, you'll see that increase is anticipated fees for ongoing contract negotiations. We are hopeful that this will be settled prior to the end of this fiscal year. However, more than likely, based on current how far can I go with this? We'll probably be
The
back.
roofing arbitration award is issued in May.
There, and issued in May, but we're likely going to be back in negotiations throughout into the next fiscal year based on the lapse of the contract. Contracted services, this is a 19.72% increase. I know I said we held most of our contractors, or most of our contractors were nice enough to hold their prices with minimal increases that we can absorb. 13% of that 19% is to install forward-facing in-vehicle cameras in our heavy apparatus and majority of our response staff cars. As you have seen for some appropriations and transfers due to lost revenue accounts, we've had some apparatus get hit, and we're just looking to follow the lead of other departments and provide an extra level of protection to our employees in the town in terms of video surveillance, as it would. Dues and conferences, you'll see that as a large increase. I believe that's about 24%. I didn't write it down. 24.6. As you heard from the other department heads this evening, a lot of that is due to increased cost in conferences and travel. We have 6 or 7 members of, or 5 members of the fire marshal's office that require continuing education credits. That's 30 credits a year or 90 credits over 3 years. As well as, again, I'll look at the professional development of our younger members to attend more conferences and get them more education and experience. So I look forward to any questions you may have. And yes, I'm sorry I talk fast.
The chief touched on something I just want, Jim and I and the chief will be working together. Once the arbitration, putting money in contingency, that money's all going to come back, as well as some other funds. So probably your May meeting, we're hoping, May, so certainly by your June meeting, we'll be doing a lot.
But does this mean now we'll have a contract, if this all settles,
Yep.
for the next 3 years?
No.
For a year.
Or we just start and then we go back
Well,
at it?
it's definitely going to be until June 30th of 2025. Definitely that. The question becomes, is we don't know what the figures are. We'll let us know about that. Added 1 year onto the contract.
Correct.
Because we didn't want to go exactly what you just said. The award comes in May, the contract expires June 30th. We all agreed in the union and kind of a 1 year
Breather.
breather.
You don't have a grant writer on staff, do you?
We do not have a grant writer on staff. I began as a lieutenant as a primary grant writer for the department. Again, part of our succession program. We have a firefighter now and a lieutenant that's taken over the primary responsibilities of that. I'm the authorized representative for the grant, so I obviously oversee and proofread everything they do. But those two have come up, I think, successfully either accepted or not accepted grants. We're in the area of about $3 million that we've been awarded since about 2012. So whether we don't have a professional grant writer on staff, but we have personnel that are very adept.
Have taken over that position.
Yes,
if you will.
very much so.
How is the working relationship?
Fantastic.
Good.
I'll attribute most of this to Assistant Chief Lee and Captain Pizzella, who's on a member of the department in their training program. Our training program is top notch. It's recognized as one of the best in the states, especially in terms of a combination department. Very aggressive. It's received very, very well, and I can let the Assistant Chief speak to that. He's got a little bit more in-depth knowledge and personal connection to it, if you'd like.
I have some skin in the game.
Yeah, I want to get to that because we'll talk a little about what we can do to support volunteers and what we're doing. Chief, how's the equipment? Is all our equipment holding up? Is it all where we need it in terms of?
We've been very fortunate, thanks to the support of the commission as well as the Board of Finance and the town manager. Our equipment is top notch in terms of extrication equipment, our gear. Our apparatus is fantastic. It's one of the most reliable and safest in the industry, and in my opinion. We're very fortunate with our vendors. We do have some maintenance issues, obviously, as our fleet gets older. Like, again, the ladder truck we're replacing is...
We keep up with it.
We keep up with it, yes. Yeah, it's become a challenge. Our vehicle maintenance budget this year is a challenge. You'll be seeing me for a transfer shortly on that line item, I guarantee it. But our maintenance and our equipment is fantastic.
How about facilities?
Facilities we've been working at slowly in terms of renovations. Last year, we had a capital budget improvement to do some minor refreshes for some bathrooms and some flooring and some kitchens in a couple of the facilities. Most of our stations are old. If you look at fire headquarters, it's originally built in 1952. It's not now in its 5th edition, which was in 2004. Station 2, we've in Planceville, we pumped a lot of money into. That is the oldest building, built in 1966. Station 5, you'll see in the 2028, I believe, capital plan that's down the road for some significant renovations at about $250,000. That was built in 1975. And our newest singular station is Clark Street, which was built in 1993.
So, as far as soft spots, you have ongoing maintenance. Are there any spots right now that you're not so proud of if we were to do a full tour? Or is everything, it is what it is and it's getting maintained over time?
It's getting maintained. We do make some priorities. We're lucky enough to work with Annette and Department of Public Works and Highway in terms of the resurfacing of the parking lots, as well as some drainage issues. We've done some roof repair on Station 5 and Station 3. We have some Station 5 is getting in the process of getting a new generator. That's 18 months in the works, just because of supply issues. And I'll stop there. And Station 3, we have a plan for the generator there. We have some boiler plans in works with townwide HVAC. So we have plans in place to, I don't want to say piecemeal it, but keep us going. I think our biggest issue going forward, and I'll be honest with you, is having a local training facility, but we'll discuss that at a later date.
And one thing, I know I called you maybe prior to the election, said let's set up a night where we could bring the Board of Finance through to talk to the two of you and then anybody from the commission. We would go through the commission. That didn't happen. We didn't, on our side, we never fulfilled it because we said the election's coming up, people were going to get switched. I've been meaning to call you, but I want to say here that we want to get together. What we did at the police department was the police department stayed for 2 hours. We sent 3 of our members through the first hour, and then they just repeated the message for the other 3, so we didn't have a de facto meeting. We were just going there to be informed.
Mm-hmm.
We're not discussing or deciding or voting on anything, but if we all gather, I didn't want to have a quote-unquote private meeting or a de facto
Quorum.
meeting or a quorum, so we did 3 and 3. It worked out well, and everybody got informed. They got to ask any questions that were on their mind, or maybe something, if something was confidential. It was a good chat, and I know we did it with you.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, so we want to do it again.
Assistant Chief and I look forward to it, and we'll make ourselves available whenever you want.
And I know you did that. It was more on us not getting it done in, like, whenever we talk, September, October. Now I'll be reaching out again, and we'll pick a night, or we'll put a couple
Absolutely.
options up and run everybody through.
Look forward to it.
It's good. That way we get a little bit closer. And I know, too, and I think you're aware, this board, we have assigned liaisons years back to the fire department, and it's Mrs. Mazzarella and Mr.
Yes.
Pocock. And we say to them, there's not an official subcommittee of our Board of Finance. It's just somebody who could bring the message back to us. This is going on. This truck was in an accident. This one's being built. Little things that we need to know, and they'll liaise that message back to us.
Mr. Pocock has been at several of our meetings, and he has my cell phone number and does not hesitate to use it. So,
But that's what we just want to have it, not, there's no issue, but just to be able to have that connection with the bigger
Yeah.
operating units.
absolutely.
So, all right, so we'll set up that meeting, and thank you.
Look forward to
Thank you. Now, let's get to the volunteers with Chief Lee.
Here we go. Thank you, sir.
What do you want to
Good evening.
Good evening. So,
So how
big-
can I help you?
Big question. A lot of people in the community come to us, and it's this whole, and I've been going on this for years, but it's this whole thing about running this dual department where we have volunteer firefighters and we have paid firefighters or career firefighters, and finding that balance. And I said years ago to the town council chairs who have changed that we really have to decide, and I think it all starts with deciding whether we're a volunteer company with paid professional support or whether we're a professional company with additional volunteer support. It's really the overarching philosophy. But we don't have to solve that here. But I think this board wants to know, what can we, all the members have, not, several of them have said over time and in workshops, what can we do to support a good, healthy volunteer program? And we know, we've been told by every chief and acting chief and everybody along the line that the volunteerism is dropping. We hear it not just of firefighters, we hear it of the social clubs, the Elks, the Lions, the whatever, Knights of Columbus. But what are we not doing that we could be doing to bring, make a big, strong volunteer
Unfortunately, we are at a position nationwide where it's not something we can fix anymore. Most families have to work at least 2 jobs in order to support their families, take the time to be able to spend time with their children. So a lot of people don't have the time to commit anymore. That seems to be the biggest problem. Unfortunately, there's 2 different systems as far as having career and volunteers. One is called a dual system. The other one is called the combination system. Southington fits into the combination system. We function as one fire department that's comprised of career members and volunteer members. That's where our training came in. It's no longer the volunteers and the career guys. It's the Southington Fire Department is providing a service to the town of Southington and the people who pass through it. So the sooner we got that message into everyone's mind, it made everything function much more efficiently. We're held to the same standards. When people call for help, they're not going to judge you whether you have a union card or if you have a volunteer sticker on the back of your car. It's irrelevant. They want help now, so that's what we provide. So hopefully that kind of answered your question. Unfortunately, the volunteer system is beyond tired, and the nationwide trends support that.
Even trying to reach into the school and get young graduates who want to be more hands-on, and
it's a very challenging system. There's a couple of volunteer departments in our area, such as Newington, where they're still getting an influx of members. They're faced with the same situation we are, where we're only able to hang on to them for 2 to 3 years max. So we're investing a lot of money in them, and
what do
we
they
don't get a
become,
big return
career
on the investment.
firefighters somewhere else, or they
choose that they don't like it.
Okay.
It's a big commitment. It's an eye-opening experience to go into a burning building or pull someone from a damaged car. It's a gut check, so it's not for everyone.
How does Plainville do it? Because they're a volunteer fire
They're
department, right?
relying on help from outside
other
agencies
towns?
as well.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, the
Cheshire
mutual
the
aid
same?
system is stronger now than it has ever been. It used to be, this is my fiefdom and I won't have anybody help me. Now it's, this is my fiefdom and I want you to come help me. So it's a change in terms of how we operate now.
Is Cheshire all volunteer too?
Yes, but they also have augmented people during the daytime to staff apparatus between their fire marshal's office, and they have a couple of paid drivers as well. So they're feeling the same squeeze everyone else is.
I notice every time we have an incident, it seems like when those briefings come out, it said we called in mutual aid from here and there. Is that's just
Sure.
protocol now?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. One of the recommendations from the master plan was to expand our mutual aid in order to get enough people on scene in a certain period of time. Yes, that is protocol now. It's almost like an automatic aid, but it's not an automatic aid. It's our working fire protocol. Incident commander gets on scene, determines that the incident could quickly escalate past our resources coming in, or the reliability of our resources based on time frame. We automatically bring in mutual aid from Meriden. I'll speak right to it. Meriden and Bristol come in automatically. They're our 2 closest career staffed departments. And we also bring in Cheshire and Plainville to cover our stations, as well as New Britain, another career department. And then it expands from there. That just gives us the resources. It addresses the reflex time in case the situation gets significantly worse. We can have those resources on, at a faster clip versus, I will say, waiting 10 to 15 minutes for a volunteer engine to respond. Those numbers are fluid, I'll be honest. To readdress the reaching out to the schools, et cetera, issue, we have been following some of the National Volunteer Fire Council recommendations. We do have a recruitment and retention committee in place. We are doing career fairs. We have the career fair in April coming up at the high school that we are attending. It'll be our 2nd year in a row. And we've also been partnering with the Police Explorers program, where 2 to 3 of their meetings a year, they actually come to us and participate in training and learn about the fire department, and as that as a career, or as an option, or as volunteerism as well. So we're putting our fingers in the dike, so to speak, but it's been the challenge.
What triggers callbacks, calling in firefighters who are not on shift? What are the triggers for that?
Triggers would be an accident, any type of incident on I-84, just based on the duration of the time that we're out there, the remoteness of it, and the hazard associated with I-84, any type of structure fire response, and any type of vehicle extrication, anything that we've determined that would be a prolonged incident that would require callbacks to come in. I will be honest, the majority of our members, probably 50 to 60% of our career members, do not live in town. And the members that are participating in the callbacks is slim, very slim. We may have one or two members on a call that come in where we'll see that big increase of callback overtime, and that's actually decreased considerably. That's actually decreased in my budget this year by about $35,000 in the overtime account.
So when somebody's called back, how long are they called back for?
It's hour for hour. So, like I said, what you see is typically at shift change, at the 7 a.m. mark, if a call comes at 6:45, you'll catch those shifts. So by contract, they're eligible for an hour of overtime.
That's like a holdover.
That's a holdover or an early call, yes, sir. And again, we've seen that line item and that particular segmented line item of the budget drop about $35,000 this year.
So we can call for callbacks, but we might not get them because people live farther away.
Correct.
And because you have the extended shifts, I don't know what you call them, but the people will drive in from wherever they live, move into the firehouse, stay there for how long on a shift?
24 hours.
24 hours, and their shift ends, they go home, they're off for 24 or?
Off for 72.
Off for 72, and then back for 24.
So if you-
It doesn't matter, convenience-wise, it's not really a concern when let's say you live in Suffield and you take a job in Southington, that's okay, it works.
It works, yes.
Yeah, it'd be a lot different if they had to come every day for an 8-hour shift or every day for a 12-hour shift.
Like I did when I started when I was in Enfield, yes, sir.
Might be a little harder, yeah.
But it does affect the callbacks, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
don't have that reliability so the callback is optional then in a way.
Callback is optional. It's inconsistent. It's not a guarantee that we're going to have.
How does it work? It shoots out on an app, on a phone?
Yeah, we have an app, same application that we use for the volunteers. We have I Am Responding that alerts you to a call. Plus, we have a driven text message that's set up through our computer-aided dispatch as well. So,
the callbacks mainly the career guides coming back?
callback. We use that as a career callback.
Okay.
But anytime there's a incident that would initiate a callback for a career, we've already. It's simultaneously we're dispatching the volunteers as well. So there's no separation there.
Okay.
I think I hopefully speak for everyone and said we want to do whatever we can to support, any programs you have, outreach for the volunteers or making it attractive for them, especially to help young people in the high school, like an Explorer type program, anything like that. I think we want to support that.
Explorer programs are challenging, and we can talk
Yeah.
offline on that. You're
I don't have
you're
a
a scout,
solution to
so
any of it, but
the assistant chief and I are both a proponent of the combination system. We're a proponent of a strong career force and strong volunteer companies. It's just a matter, again, like you said, how we balance that and budgetarily and operationally.
But if there's any ideas you have, you could bring them to Mrs. Mazzarella or Mr. Pocock and bring them back to us and say, hey, we're really toying around with this. We're not sure if we could fund it. Talk to them, they'll bring it back, and we'll see what we can do, because I too remember the days of, from Middlebury, being there. I was never a volunteer firefighter, but I was in the firehouse a lot because I had friends there. We used to go and wash cars, we used to hang out, we used to, they had chores that they did, I kind of joined in. I wasn't part of anything, but I was there. So I would help do stuff. They gave the kids jobs, and I was a kid.
And that was the same experience that we grew up as volunteers in our respective departments.
You had to wash things, check things.
When I started in 1999, we had approximately 100 to 110 volunteers. We're down to 34 too.
It was almost felt like a club, like a family.
Yes, absolutely. And that nationwide has that sentiment, not the volunteer sentiment, but that
Right.
camaraderie piece of it. And because of the family aspect, I look at a majority of our volunteers are family members or family people. They have kids, they have additional responsibilities. Not that doesn't exist, but it's definitely significantly reduced. So,
Yeah, I thought that was really nice, though, to go gas up take the truck and put the diesel fuel in it, or to play with the ATV, get it ready. We had to go test it. But all of that stuff was fun when
Training.
you were
It's
young.
called training.
Yeah, when you were young, it was great. Make sure everything worked, and you fill out these little cards saying everything was inspected.
we all grew up.
I watched a lot of my
us.
friends do that, and
It's totally different now.
Yeah,
All the young kids have
it's
too
sad
many
in a way, 'cause
distractions.
it's-
Too many distractions.
I think it's a
Social
great
media,
thing.
It's
Yeah.
so much. Not like when we were younger. There was no.
No, and you mentioned it
internet.
earlier, like you mentioned earlier,
There's no
it's the
social
same thing.
media.
The Rotary clubs, the Elks, all the civic and social organizations, we're all suffering, so.
But we wish you all the best. I think that's really the message, and
Thank you.
we'll support as much as we can. And thanks, everybody. I guess we don't look for our favorite motion. We're all done. Thank you, Sandy, for getting the video done, and everybody else for being here. And Chief,
you.
I'll be in touch to propose a couple of nights.
Please, we look forward
Chief
to it.
Lee or Chief Heath.